Welcome to the Two Act Podcast, where we talk about all things anime, cinema, and TV. I'm one of your co-hosts, Gothjon, and who else am I here with?
I'm Adi, and I'm looking forward to this week's episode.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about the Fallout TV show. It's on Amazon Prime, and I'm sure everyone and anyone has seen the show if they wanted to. So I personally have played a lot of these video games. I've played Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, 76. So I have a lot coming into this show. I have had a lot of expectations. I had a lot of excitement. I was trying not to get overly excited about the show. Do you have any experience with this?
I gotta confess, I've never played the video games, so I had a completely blank view on it. Like going in, I had zero expectations, but I did know about the games growing up, but I just never played it. But it was interesting because it was like another video game adaptations, and we know how video game adaptations to film and TV have been in recent memory.
Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. So some of them are like The Last of Us. Some of them are like Twisted Metal.
Yeah, totally. And I guess it was like, ooh, okay, it's a big swing. And then I saw that Jonathan Nolan was, I guess, executive producer and writer, and I thought, well, this looks interesting because Jonathan Nolan, he's done Westworld, The Dark Knight. He's written some incredible feature films and worked in TV. So that did drive up some of my expectations. But
yeah, I saw the trailer and it did not look good. I was like, oh, this is going to suck. I was already getting ready to hate it. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, it's actually pretty good.
I did not watch the trailer, but I did see the poster with the three main characters, and I do agree in the sense where I kind of felt like I'm not sure this looks like high quality. It kind of looks cheap, and I guess starting into it, I guess I felt a bit confused in the beginning about its tone because I don't know what it really fits into.
So Fallout is typically like dark comedy. It's funny, but it's also serious at times. So it's serious that, oh, the whole world went to crap because all the nukes went off and everyone has to live in what's left of the nuclear fallout. And then sometimes they'll do something goofy, like in the video games they'll put two like skeletons next to each other, and then like they'll like put something in like a really silly pose or something, and then you'll just like come into this room and you're like, well, what the hell happened here? And they'll do something goofy, or some of the characters will say something really off the wall.
Growing up, I think the thing that I recognize that it's ingrained in my mind the most is the character, or the logo of the character, the blonde character who's the Pip Boy.
The Fallout Boy.
The Fallout Boy. That's literally the only.
Boy.
I don't know if that's his name, but let's just assume that it is.
Yeah, it's I can't exactly remember the name, but it's the signature of the video games, of the show, and all that. You got him just doing his thumbs up, and then like one of the characters in the show does that thumbs up, and you're like, okay, maybe he's modeled after that character. And there was I had some problems with this show, and we'll save that for later when we go into spoilers.
True. Let's do that.
Absolutely. So did you have a favorite character?
I gotta say the one that stole the show for me is 100%, without any doubt, Walton Goggins playing Cooper Howard, or the Ghoul. I thought that character was freaking badass, man. Awesome. It was such a great character and played by such an underrated actor. I have nothing but immense admiration for Walton Goggins. He's in some really great stuff, like Justified and The Hateful Eight, and it's so great to see him.
I don't even remember him in that.
Oh, he's amazing in that. Yeah,
but I'm sure he was in it, and I'm sure he did good. I really liked Lucy. That's just because you always play as the Vault Dweller in the video games for the most part. Sometimes, unless you're playing Fallout New Vegas, because you play the Courier. I really liked how she was very stereotypical in like Vault Dweller fashion, just going into this world all happy-go-lucky, and then seeing what the world for really what it is. I did not like Maximus at all. And I warmed up to him at the end, but I did not like him.
I sort of agree, because Lucy, essentially, she's kind of like the audience's surrogate, right? We see the world of Fallout and the perspective of what's going on entirely through her. So I do admire her, and I do like how she's portrayed in this as someone who's completely innocent and brought up in this world where she has no idea what it's like. And then when she does arise in the surface, you see the realities that hit her, and also morally how that changes her. And I do agree that the other lead character, I believe Maximus or Knight Titus, I felt like he was a bit probably the weaker of the three. And but it took a while for me to get into them. I think it was maybe 3-4 episodes in where I really started to get a feel for the characters. And by the end, they kind of reminded me of the good, the bad, and the ugly. You got the good, who's Lucy, the bad, who's Maximus, and then the ghoul, who's the ugly. So
yeah, I guess literally. Yeah, it did have a lot of like Western feel for sure.
That's
anytime a Fallout game takes place in like the West, it has that feel. Like a lot of the music in the video games in the Pip-Boy, you have like radios, and you can I've listened to all this music, and they even added some stuff that isn't technically in the games, but it definitely feels that theme. Like there's a couple. There's the World on Fire. There's that one. Everyone knows that one from all the Fallout games. It's in almost every Fallout game. And then you have the 16 Tons. That's the one I was thinking of. That one I don't think is in any of the Fallout games, but it really fit the themes very well. And I really love that song, so it helps. It was like a different cover of the one I'm usually used to listening to. And they had just one of those famous Fallout songs just in the show, just in the tracks, and they're not like playing them like off a radio or anything. It's just laced in the audio, and where you wouldn't even notice it if you weren't listening for it.
True. The audio, the soundtrack is so seamless, and I think it really the Western, the country soundtrack, really, the music really complements the story well. And we got to talk about how that ties into the genre, because at first I wasn't sure myself, because it felt like at times, is this like Mad Max, or is it like, is it going into like Cowboy Bebop, where it's kind of like a cowboy Western noir? But really, by the end of it, I felt like what I really found interesting about the way it depicts the future, because it is a story that starts in 2077. That's the year when the bombs drop, and then there's a 219-year time jump, I believe. So
it's something like that. Yeah, it's
something like
significant.
That.
And you're like wondering why is this ghoul guy still alive?
Yeah, exactly.
It's because he was one of the poor bastards that was outside when the bombs fell, and it mutated his DNA.
We got to talk about that, because the opening scene is Cooper Harvard, played by Walton Goggins, who's the ghoul, at a kid's birthday party, and he's kind of like a child's entertainer at that point of his life.
I guess his movie career kind of went downhill, and he's with his daughter, and they're at entertaining this birthday party, and where he's like giving horsey rides to people,
and it looks like it's
kids.
in some really posh Beverly Hills mansion, because you can see like the backdrop of LA and the downtown, and then all of a sudden the bombs drop. And what a way to open up a series, because right from that moment, I was hooked. I was just like, wow, that's a bold way to open up. So I was quite intrigued by his storyline. And I just think like the whole vibe of it, now that I think of it, really feels like a retro-futurist vibe of the show.
I can see that. Yeah, it's so in a lot of the games, they'll have it introduced by I can never remember his name, but there's a well-known voice actor that always goes, war never changes, and then like he'll like play the music and whatnot, and
kind of like Uncle Sam, huh?
Yeah, sort of like that. And they were asked in an interview why they didn't get him, and then they were like, well, we wanted to save some stuff for future seasons. I was like, oh okay, that's fine, you don't have to do every callback, that's fine. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed that opening scene as well. But playing the games, I already knew what was going to happen. I was just waiting for it to happen.
Oh, okay. So, and it is set like after Fallout 4, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's set after. I don't necessarily know about Fallout 4, but I know it's definitely set after Fallout 1, 2, and definitely Vegas. So probably 3 and 4. It's so there's a spoiler alert. I'm just gonna go right into it. So spoiler alert for Fallout. Okie dokie. All right. So there's a town called Shady Sands, and Shady Sands is in I believe Fallout 1 or 2, and it's like kind of a big deal. That's why some Fallout fans like freaked out and they got really upset about how they changed the location exactly where it's at, and that's whatever. They introduce this, and then you have a general idea. So you already know it's taking place in California, and then all the Fallout 1 and 2, they both also take place in California. Fallout 3 takes place in East Coast, like near Washington D.C. Fallout 4 takes place somewhere in Massachusetts, and then New Vegas is obvious, takes place in Nevada.
And New Vegas, we'll get to that at the end, because pretty big.
Yeah, that's a definite spoiler in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the shifty snake oil salesman?
The shifty snake oil salesman.
He was like a fake doctor. He was like the crazy doctor guy. Do you remember him? The guy that he like. So he was like selling he's like, I'll cure your foot or whatever. Like the guy
yes,
that was,
yes.
Yeah. You remember him?
Yeah, I do.
So there was a whole thing. What they said in the show. They showed it. They didn't necessarily say it, but I think they actually said it towards the end. But what they did to so the reasons why we hate Maximus is because he's just a terrible person, and he lets his guy who he came here with, Knight Titus, he let him get his ass beat by I think it's like a dire bear.
It was a crazy was it a grizzly
bear?
It
was like a
sure.
they're called dire bears, and
all right,
he got his ass kicked, and
pretty hilariously.
Yeah, no, it was straight out of Marvel. It was straight out of the Hulk picking up Loki and slamming him back and forth. That's straight up what happened.
Yeah,
and it was awesome.
It's iconic because you can see the claw on his chest scratching the Brotherhood's logo.
Scene. Oh yeah.
And that's one of the things I really liked about the show was the power armor of the T-60s. The fact that they were an actual practical piece instead of CGI was a really good touch.
No, that could have looked awful. It could have looked like it was straight out of the Scooby-Doo movie.
Totally.
whenever there are some other like very popular monsters in Fallout lore, like they showed it a little bit of it, but they didn't like show it in motion. It's called a Death Claw. It's I'm surprised it didn't show up in the show just because of how like well known they are in that. And those things, they're like big packs of them. It's nightmare fuel. Like in Fallout New Vegas, if you take a wrong turn in the beginning of the game, you could go right into a valley full of them.
Wow.
Like it's a whole thing, and then you're definitely not ready to fight them. Like the game, it's an older game, so they don't give you quest. They give you quest markers in a sense, but they give you quest markers in a sense you go in that direction, but they don't necessarily tell you what way you should go that way.
Sounds like it's a very tactical game.
Yeah, no. So Fallout New Vegas was made by Obsidian, which is a studio that really well known for making sequels to RPG games. They made Star Wars: The Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, and in Obsidian fashion was told by the developer, the publisher rather, you have 18 months to make this game. And they made the best game they could in 18 months, and in fact is probably one of the best Fallout games, like, period, like, ever made. Like, 76, that was a garbage heap. Fallout 4, it's pretty good. Fallout 3 was a broken mess that modders had to, like, piece back together to make it work. Fallout New Vegas, when it came out, they only had some weird bugs. It had, like, one of the dog characters had its eyeball outside of its head. Like, it wasn't
wow.
a big deal.
Okay. I'm having difficulty imagining that, but sure.
Yeah, no, it's silly Bethesda like bugs, and
okay.
It's because the games are made in like an engine that's like 10 years way older than it needs to be, just because they want everybody to be able to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine now that the sales would be off the roof again because of popularity.
They in Fallout 76 like had like crazy numbers. In fact,
Not surprised.
As we speak, about to start a playthrough for Fallout 4 again. Yeah, I'm just downloading mods, playing can we make the game work and not crash on desktop?
Okay, nice. Sounds like you've rekindled your Fallout passion.
No, I love Fallout. I've always loved Fallout. The show being as decent as it is definitely helped rekindle it, for sure.
What did you think of the depiction of the Wasteland and the surface, and in comparison to your experience of playing the game? Did you think that the series...
Oh, no, I thought they did a really good job. So I'm sure there's a lot of CGI, and I'm sure they shot in, like, a California desert. There was a lot of...
Oh, they shot in Namibia in Africa. So I was watching...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was watching one of the behind the scenes, and Walton Goggins was talking about how the scenes in the desert were shot in the winter in Namibia. I'm sorry if I'm getting it wrong, but it's cool to see that they put in the effort to go to these practical places and like shoot on location.
Just sign it in like a soundstage. No, it definitely shows that they shot out somewhere really cool. And it did really feel like Fallout New Vegas, just like that whole like deserty wasteland and all this decaying buildings, and then you see like raiders are like living in them, and then you run into that family that all committed cyanide poisoning, and they're all skeletons. No, that's straight out of the game.
I felt like, you know what? It's not about absence or spareness or vacancy. It is for a minute, and then you realize this world is heavily populated. There are lots of people left over, as seen by Lucy's experience of coming to the surface, thinking there's going to be just a handful of people left. But then she's completely blindsided by the fact that people weren't waiting for these guys to come up from their luxury vaults.
We're going to restart America.
Exactly. The world has moved on and begun to rebuild itself in different ways, with different factions going different directions, and in many ways more complicated than the world that is wiped away 200 years ago. And the complexity of that, to me, was more fascinating in terms of the questions that got asked about, you know, where we're headed in the show, where these guys are going to end up, and what's going to happen.
I did have some problems with that, but I did also enjoy that a lot. That's one thing that I love about Fallout in general. It's just trying to so there's a divergence in the timeline versus our timeline. It's like some mechanical component wasn't invented yet. I think it's like a transistor, and that's why we have nuclear powered cars and stuff in Fallout, and it's like a whole like blind side. It's like if Tesla got to do what not Tesla, but I guess Tesla, if he got to do what he wanted to do and didn't get completely robbed by Thomas Edison, it's an entire future with all this technology that we couldn't even like fathom how they work. Like the vertibirds, I'm pretty sure that was probably CGI, like those helicopters. But
they have to be. They have to.
It looked pretty good. Yeah.
The practical effects.
I don't know if they like special effect on a helicopter. I don't know if they did that, but
I doubt it. I really doubt that. I mean,
but I thought they looked good.
It did, and that's again it's just a great blend of horror, a bit of, I don't know, not sure if cyberpunk's the right word for it, but there's a bit of like futuristic element to it. But then you've got like good old school, good old fashioned horror and this sort of cowboy western action and this blood spewing everywhere, which feels right out from the Tarantino movie.
They're all M-rated games. There's not a Fallout game that's, unless you're playing Fallout Shelter, like a phone game. They're all M-rated games. They are not for kids. This show is not for kids. No. If you let your kids watch this show, you're an idiot. And it's your own fault.
I'm afraid, if you do that, that would not be a wise decision. And that's something that can catch a lot of viewers off guard, because the violence in this show and the humor in this show, the dark humor, it can be a handful and it can come off nowhere. But personally,
I definitely enjoyed the humor. It's definitely
I concur.
In my terrible sense of humor. Just like when Molten Goggins is in when they go to Philly and he's like going at a shootout, just blowing people up, and then he like lumps over like a wheel cart, and then there's like a guy like bleeding out, and he's like, "I'd give you some tomatoes, but you got a hole in your neck."
Yeah, I remember awesome. That.
No, that was awesome. I watched it again, so that's how far I got. I got to Philly.
and there's that scene as well where he's like consuming the chemicals that keep him alive, and he's looking at all these dead zombie ghoul bodies, and he's like, "Sorry, you weren't invited to this party." There's just so many moments like that. But there's a quote that I really laughed and I thought perfectly kind of symbolized the whole show, and there's like symbolized Lucy and her development as a character. There's a scene where I think it's in episode 3 or 4 where she gets used as bait, and she's furious about it used as bait by the ghoul with that crazy gulper creature in the river. And then she's furious and she's like, don't you know about the golden rule? It's like, do unto others as you would have done unto you. And then the ghoul just like takes her over, and he's like, well, the Wasteland's got its own golden rule. Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time.
That's what happens in the video games. So that's why
exactly.
It's really funny.
It just perfectly encapsulates.
Side quest, yes, I will go do that. No, that is definitely.
It did a good job in
well.
Exactly. It did a really good job in making you feel like you were in a video game and you were playing a video game, but not in a way that.
The stim packs. How do you feel about that?
The stim packs, the one that the ghoul.
So the stim packs, they're like those syringes. You like plug them into your leg or whatever, and then they just heal you. Like Lucy used one right after she got in the fight with the Raiders in the start of the show. Just like she's like bleeding out, has like a gash.
I was surprised by that because I was like, how is she?
Yeah, in the video games, stim packs they're the best. They're the creme de creme. You can't like repair a chopped off arm or anything, but you can definitely recover from really low health. Yeah,
there's so many things like that I probably had no idea about, and I need to play the games to get a better sense of appreciation for how much the show goes in depth to get these little details in, because...
Yeah, if you do have time, I'd recommend playing Fallout New Vegas for sure. It's a good playthrough. There's like the show, there's a lot of different factions. In fact, there's a faction you don't really see in the show. So the NCR, the North California Republic, or the New California Republic, you don't really see in the show. Like they kind of hint at it a little bit, but in Fallout New Vegas, they're one of the major factions that's trying to control the Mojave Desert.
Okay.
So there's Caesar's Legion, not Caesar. It's how they say it. They say it Caesar. It's this crazy guy. He likes to like put people on crosses. He's deplorable. And then you have the NCR, which they're corrupt in their own way. And then you have somebody who showed up in the show, which I was kind of surprised by, Mr. House. He also wants to control the Wasteland, but in his own way.
Isn't he, if I'm not mistaken, the character that's in the whole meeting room at the end where the ghoul finds out what Cooper's character basically spies on his wife, and they're having that meeting, and there's that character who's got a mustache. Is he? Are you
the mustache guy. The
mustache guy.
Yeah, It's I think he's like Roboco. That's the company he's a CEO of, and they're like the robot company. And so in the games, he's one of the factions is Mr. House, and then he's got a bunch of Securitrons that are doing business. Like, I don't want to.
I'm guessing he's going to be
in that game,
but I'm guessing they're going to save all of that for the next season because there's so much.
They definitely could. They showed New Vegas at the end of it. It was definitely something, and I'm definitely excited for a second season. Like we were saying off air, man, it's going to be like a couple of years. I'm like, no, you're right. It definitely will be. I felt like the first half of the show was awesome and amazing, and I was very excited to finish it. And then I kind of feel like they ran out of money or something, because like the final confrontation with Moldova, I kind of feel like they they kind of suppressed a little bit of it. They didn't shoot it like a big battlefield. They shot it like all in one room.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of action that's left off screen.
Yeah,
that is a nitpick I have as well, but I do love how they showed and how they based it in Griffith Park, which is such an iconic location in LA, the observatory, and then you get scenes like seeing the Hollywood sign all basically bashed up. So they did put in a good effort in trying to get the location in and make it look like it is LA in 200 years later. But I do agree. I feel like the action maybe suffers a bit. But we got to talk about
there, but the action wasn't there.
But we got to talk about that one badass scene where the Brotherhood come in the dark room, and then they're like, they're confronted by the ghoul, who's like, "I bet that armor makes you look like a big man." And he's like,
"Yeah, that was awesome.
I know you do, because I wore one back in the day." And I was just thinking, this character is so cool. He's essentially been around for like 200. He's fucking immortal, right? He can't die.
He's pretty close. He definitely can die. Him knowing the little defect in the armor, that was clutch. That was awesome.
It was amazing. It reminded me, man, of that scene in Rogue One at the end where Darth Vader shows up, and you just see the entire scene lit up by his lightsaber as he basically kills through I believe they were the rebels. But like the scene in that episode in Fallout where the lights go off and then it's entirely lit with him shooting the Brotherhood with the bullets flying off from his gun was insane. I thought that was an amazing scene. Love that
I don't feel bad
detail
for the Brotherhood. in Fallout lore and in the show. They have some good things about them. They try to make a home for people, but they also are fanatics about technology, so much so that they can do some pretty heinous shit just to get their hands on some technology. They will sacrifice all sorts of people, and who knows what would have happened if they would have got the MacGuffin and the cold fusion. Who knows? True. They might have made a big bomb out of it, or a sick ass.
Well, most likely they like I believe there's a scene where the leader of the Brotherhood says we used to rule this place, and now people don't respect us, something along those lines. So there is a bit of added history.
Well, a lot of things that happen with the Brotherhood is they are all over the place. There's a chapter in like every place in the country. Like there's even where I live, even in the Midwest, there's a chapter that they vaguely like talk about. They're on the East Coast, they're on the West Coast, they're all over the place.
Which brings me back to that scene again where the ghoul says, I know because I wore one back in the day, which is like he's been around for a while, where he was part of the Brotherhood. Is that what that scene implies?
No, he was a part of the U.S. Military. During right before the bombs fall, there's like a whole thing about resource wars. So what happens is gas gets shot up to an insane level because we completely run out and we deplete all the resources. The things that we've been hearing of for the last like 40 years, how in our world, how gas is not infinite. Eventually we will deplete all of it. And that's what happens in Fallout. There's no gas. There's no there's water, but that doesn't really help you. And that's why China and Russia and all the other major powers, they're all fighting for this gas. And they're all fighting for it in Anchorage, Alaska. And then there's another draft. And I'm sure Goggins gets thrown into that draft in the T-45 armor and has to fight against other people in power armor. It's like a whole thing.
Oh, okay. I didn't admit I didn't.
I'm surmising a little bit of that. They don't say it directly in the show, but in Fallout lore, that's generally what corresponds. Like, there's a whole timeline for this. I've independently researched a lot of this. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos about Fallout history, and I can vaguely tell you what most likely happened because I don't exactly remember the dates or anything like that.
Oh, okay. But I guess that's what makes his character so fascinating, because I think compared to all characters, he's probably the most layered in terms of not only
for sure the most
his background. Exactly, because I wanted to ask you, like, what did you make of the scenes where we go back in time and we see, how he essentially, because of his wife, gets thrown into becoming the face of Vault-Tec.
Yeah, and Vault-Tec's a necessary evil, unfortunately. So what ends up happening with him, like at first I didn't really like them because I was like just rolling my eyes and I was like whatever. But then like that plot started to show its head, and then you get to like learn more about Vault-Tec from the inside. I'm like, okay, all right, now I'm interested. All right, now where's this going? And where this going kind of pisses me off, but that's just because I feel like it's kind of a cop-out saying that Vault-Tec shot the first bomb. I like saying that who nobody knows. I like that they left that a mystery in so many of the games. Just like,
so you wanted that to continue
I wanted that to continue. I don't need to know that Vault-Tec shot off the bomb. In fact, that it kind of feels cheap.
I totally get your point of view, but I guess they had to do it because of the wife and to create that sort of moral, I don't know, gray area of like her wife.
Yeah. Where he has like some friction in what to do. And
I suppose he's the only character that still knows who's behind it, right?
Yes,
I mean, we as the audience know that because we've seen it through those scenes. But if you really look at it, not a lot of the other characters, maybe I don't know, maybe Hank McLean, but not a lot of other characters know who's, the clone.
Yeah, that Vault
when he showed up,
that was amazing. That was amazing.
When they got Kyle MacLachlan in the first episode and then just like made him disappear after that, I was like, there's no way he's not gonna pop just up and be there's no way they get an actor dead like that.
Just like
that would just not work. And I was not convinced by the Moldaver character. I felt like there's clearly something off about setting her up as the big bad, and quite clearly that's exactly what happened. Is she's I don't know, maybe she is bad.
Say why she's been alive for 200 years, but I'm gonna assume she was just on ice. That's something they did in Fallout 4.
No, and I think it does suffer a bit. Like her character does not really get the development it needs to be kind of integral to the story,
right?
Because she's essentially
definitely get the short end of the stick.
She does, because the inciting incident of the whole thing is, them coming in, raiding Wall 33, and leaving with Hank. So that sets off this whole quest for Lucy, and then you get the whole MacGuffin of the head, which is
she was probably going to end up going out anyway because the water chip was malfunctioning. That's one of the storylines for the first and second Fallout. Their water just doesn't work anymore, so somebody has to go look for another chip.
Yeah.
So
it is a story of survival.
I wouldn't be surprised if they would have did that. Yeah.
And the end, it is also the cold fusion, isn't it? That's the main thing that the Moldaver character is after, because was it really her plan to bring
power
energy
to a society? I think it was just because she didn't want anybody else to have it, if anything.
Do you see her as a good character, or do you think she's just an
I think so.
She's anti-hero?
Yeah, but if she was written better, maybe everybody would see that.
No,
I agree. I like the Ghoul a lot. They fleshed him out pretty good. Walton Goggins doing an amazing job.
So good.
Another good character. Good character. I like that snake oil salesman. He's just so goofy. So what he did to I can't remember the other scribe's name, but he fixed him. Do you know how he fixed him?
Is he the doctor who basically tries to kill himself and then sees the Squire, played by that kid from 21 Jump Street? He's so old now, and then his leg is basically brutally.
No, his leg's fucked for sure.
Yeah, his toes all over the place, and then he gives him the vial that heals his legs immediately, but cons him because there's that scene which is so funny.
And there's arrow in the neck.
Arrow in the neck, but before that, there's this I love how the show gets these actors to play these small characters, and you see Fred Armisen pop up out of nowhere.
Oh yeah, no, I was blindsided. I was like, whoa, why is he in here?
He's so funny because he's just observing. There's these booby traps everywhere.
And that's very Fallout.
It just goes through his neck, and then the next thing you know, he heals immediately, but he's turning into a ghoul.
Yep, that's why.
I think that's really. I think there's a similar instance about the snaky doctor character. I think there's a similar instance in the beginning where, when Lucy first comes to surface, she encounters that. I don't know if he's a farmer or what, but he's basically kind of asking her.
He's a sand farmer. He's farming that sand.
Yeah, and he's asking her
put it in the water filter. No, that was a good introduction to the Wasteland for sure. She got.
I think it does a good job in showing how there's no reliable characters, And it's easy to judge the ghoul and be like, oh, he's just horrible. He's just ruthless.
By looking at him. Yeah, no, he's...
Looking at him, yeah, for sure. But like also his behavior, his action. And you're kind of left thinking, is there anything redeemable about this character?
Yeah.
And then you see the Wasteland and the way the Wasteland treats Lucy. And it makes perfect sense that this is the only way you can survive in such an area. If you're not ruthless, you're going to get conned or killed. Or worse, everything. All of the above.
No, it's a whole thing.
So
that's why I like that snake. That I call him a snake oil salesman, because that's basically what he is. He's selling cures that don't necessarily cure you. No, I just thought he was so goofy. He's a chicken fucker. That's the thing. That was great. That Titus scene.
Yeah, they brought him. He's the same guy, isn't he? Where
he is.
Breaks up the fight.
They sees them fighting, they're just beating the shit out of each other, and then newly power armored Maximus comes over and goes like, "Stop, citizen! What are you doing?" And then after he gets him off, and then like holds him down, and he's just like, "Ha ha ha ha!" And then and when he lets him go, he's like, "Okay, I was just fucking my chickens."
There's a lot of potency for great cameos in this show, and I'm sure. It kind of reminded me of like Bill Murray in Zombieland, where he gets like shot off, and there's like this show's got some great area to get like some great cameos in, and quite clearly they had a good cast and some good characters, like minor characters as well, really well written. But I want to go into the Vault now because we do see that there's another underlying storyline happening with her brother, with Lucy's brother, played by Moses Arias. What did you think of that? And
I like that a lot. That was probably one of my more favorite storylines. Now, there's a lot of things about vaults. So in all the vaults, they're either a control vault or they are a test. So Vault-Tec is an evil corporation. So they wanted to treat humans like guinea pigs. Like in some of the vaults, there's a vault that's one guy just cloned a bunch of times, and they're all named Gary. And in one of the games, you find the vault full of Gary. And then there's another vault where they gave him a bunch of weapons. They're like, okay, we're going to see how this goes. And then there's another vault where they made them all drug addicts. They're like, all right, we're going to see if they survive. And then there's like a vault with 99 men and 1 woman. And then they did the opposite thing where they put only one of the other gender in there. And then it's just, we wanted to see what happens. And then who's getting all these test results? They're all dead. They're for sure all dead. Because there was some vaults that were control vaults where the scientists would be there. But then Fallout happened there. Where something bad happened, some forced evolutionary virus leaked, turned everybody into mutants. There's living in a vault, your chance of a better life is 50-50. Lucy got lucky. She had a vault that just wanted to be stand-up citizens, and they were in a 3 vault. I've never heard of this where they had like 3 vaults that were connected. That was definitely
31, 32, and 33.
Yeah.
I guess that's something that put me off because I just felt like how naive are these people where, the worst, even when it comes to punishing the raiders, they're very lenient. They don't really have that mindset of violence or...
and you think
strictness.
They would after they watched a bunch of people get like decapitated.
Exactly.
I really like that the chick with the eye patch. She was nice.
Oh yeah.
So cool.
She was cool, and it's
I really felt like I got like The Bride from that Tarantino movie. With the samurai sword. Yeah, I really got that like feel. Like if she had a samurai sword, perfect. That'd been
because
awesome.
she's quite like, I feel like she's quite a cunning character because there's that one scene where her brother, Lucy's brother, asks her what's it like in Vault 31, and she gives a very like sly, coy reply where she's like, "Well, I think the baked potatoes were better, something like that."
Yeah, something.
And you're like,
that.
"Come on, you're kind of you're definitely hiding something there." And then she's kind of manipulating the other character who I forgot his name, but the tall guy who has a crush on
cousin fucker.
I love how that's normalized in the show, but violence isn't.
You're like, no time for cousin stuff.
That was really funny, but I think
I even like the okie dokie when she gets married. Lucy gets married off, and he's like takes off all his clothes, and she's like okie dokie, and I'm like, this is awesome.
She's so adorable. But I wanted to say that like you were bummed out with the mystery of the bombs being revealed, but actually, I think the mystery that I really liked in the show that kept growing and growing and growing was exactly what was happening within the vaults and the entire thing with Vault 31. And I think the storyline, with her brother trying to figure out what's happening and trying to, there's so many scenes where he's like in the new overseer's office and in the computer, and like he's like trying to hack his way in, and all that had great suspense and mystery. And then when you realize what happens when he gets into Vault 31 with all those, well, I don't know if they're clones or if they're like
they're clones.
They're clones, exactly. Yeah. And I think that whole build up to that was really great. And
no, it was awesome. And then so in one of the Fallout games, there's like a bunch of like brains in jars. So when you see that little like little robot guy just going around, that was awesome. And there's like a whole thing when you think about it where they're like always vote on 31 when times are down, something like that.
When it's glum, vote 31.
Yeah, vote 31. And you're like, oh, okay, now I see what they're doing.
But it was funny because the brains played by the character Bud Askins, who's seen annoying Cooper in the flashbacks. But there's that scene where he's trying to inject Lucy's brother.
Yeah. That also reminds me. Codsworth, the robot, he's voiced by one of the guys from What We Do in the Shadows, the bigger guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's like, I think he's a Brit. And when I saw his face, I was like, oh, like the robot that's like trying to like harvest Lucy's organs.
Yeah. That was I love that robot. He was crazy funny. I mean, that old scene where he's the robot's like being so kind and
so kind and coy about what she's there for. He's just there
like
to make her feel better.
Yeah. Repair your finger and like.
Oh,
next thing you know,
convenient.
It was convenient.
Going back to that Vault 31 whole thing, I really enjoyed that reveal, and I didn't really see it coming. That's the good thing. When her brother is like checking out 32, there's a lot of dead people in here, and then he has to like keep it secret because nobody's gonna believe him.
Oh, I just thought he was doomed from the get-go. I was like, there's no
he's
way.
A little guy.
Yeah. Well,
he's lucky he didn't die.
He's lucky he didn't die, but what's to say that, he's intentionally not being targeted and he's been watched? You never know. I think because of his lineage of being a McLean, there's some element connected to the Walt storyline. So it's interesting. I'm curious to know what direction they had with his character, because it was a very understated performance of a guy who's internally suffering with his sister gone and his father gone, and he's essentially living in a society which is, well, kind of like reminded me of what's that Jim Carrey film, The Truman Show. Where
he's being
everything's
watched.
all right. Exactly. I was like, this is like Truman Show, man. Like he's just I thought it captured that sense of dread really well.
Apparently, he, the actor, I guess he was like on one of those Disney shows. He like played somebody's friend or something, I guess.
He is a really good actor, and I've seen him. I know a lot of people will recognize him from the Disney show, but there's two films that he did which are great. One was The Kings of Summer, which is a nice indie film about, it's again young coming of age film, and there's another foreign language film he did called Monos, where he plays a young rebel, and it's very close to the lines of Apocalypse Now. So this actor, when I saw that he was in the show, Moses Arias, or Arias, I don't know if I'm getting that wrong, I just knew instantly that he was gonna be a good actor delivering a good performance. And I also want to shout out to Ella Purnell. I think she did a great job as Lucy. Really captured her.
I thought it was kind of funny
and
that she, that same actress, she does Jinx in the League of Legends Arcane show. And my mind was completely
which
blown,
is one of my favorite video game to media adaptations in recent memory.
That she has such a range is kind of awesome.
She's great. Her eyes are so expressive, and she's such a great actor. With like she's able to emote really well, and it's nice that you get to see her morally change throughout the show, from being kind of having this fantasized outlook of life and what society is like, and then when she's thrusted into this world above, everything changes, and by the end you really see that her character arc has really moved, and she's no longer, I don't think you can really associate her with being a vault dweller. I'm sure she will be in the future, but quite clearly something big changes, and the whole reveal of the zombie ghoul being her mother was great.
Yeah, no,
I didn't see that coming.
I didn't either. Oh yeah, that's your mom. You look at the necklace. Oh, no, that was awesome. No, speaking of the reveals, I'm gonna go back to hating on the Vault-Tec set off the first bomb, because I don't think that makes any sense. I don't understand why a company that's out to make money would do that.
I don't understand how they can do that. Like, quite clearly, you can't just randomly drop bombs, even if you.
Well, apparently you can, because you can just blow up Shady Sands, even if you're in a vault.
But Shady Sand, yeah, true. That does happen much
so
later.
So they're gonna have to like retcon that and show off like maybe there's like an undetonated like nuke or something somewhere in Shady Sands, because they did that in Fallout. I want to say Fallout 3. There's like it's called Nuke Town. There's a nuke in the middle of the town, and you can decide whether or not you want to defuse it or set it off because you don't like the people that live there because they're mean to you or something.
Oh, right. Interesting. I don't know. I think like it's going to be interesting where they're going to take it next, and it seems to me that somehow it's still connected with Cooper and his wife. I think she's still gonna be probably one of the main or the main antagonists behind it all, because there has to be a mastermind behind everything that's happening with Vault-Tec. And I know they were very vague with the way they dealt with it, and that probably doesn't come across really well, but surely they're just trying to build up the suspense.
They can't show it all in the first season.
No,
can't blow their whole load.
If they wanted to, they could have snuck maybe a bit more in the end, where Hank reaches Vegas, and they could have shown. It's implied that he's being tracked, right? That the ghoul shot him with a tracker, maybe.
Right.
I don't know, but they didn't do that. They just ended it with him arriving at Vegas, and that's about it. You don't really see anyone else. You don't really see you don't really know anything about Vault-Tec and who's behind Vault-Tec in the present. So I think they've left it in a space where if they don't
do a
get
whole
renewed,
prequel show. It's all about Vault-Tec. Just
do you
takes
think
place before the bombs fall.
Do you think they're gonna continue the same route of going back in flashbacks even in season 2?
That's a good question. They might. Maybe more like Mr. House. Mr. House might get flashbacks. I could definitely see that. Maybe McLean too. Him before he got cloned a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I could easily see that. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do that. I just don't think. And Goggins' character's still alive too. They're definitely going to do more flashbacks. I feel like
I love the scenes where we get to see him play as an actor.
Right.
In the sets, they were all really good scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were definitely
especially
very
that
believable.
Feo Formal Fuente line, which hits really hard at the end.
Right. Is that
still
like a
want my autograph?
Like the good, the bad, and the ugly, or?
I gotta say, like I was watching a few of his interviews, and he kept talking about how much of an influence the classic westerns had on his performance with the good, bad, and ugly, obviously, but a fistful of dollars, a few dollars more, and they all connect with the theme really well, and I think you can see that. But what I was more impressed by was he was quite vocal about how the way he played the character, he didn't want to, kind of premeditate how he was going to play the ghoul, and a lot of it came from just putting on the costume, putting on the makeup, which is great makeup, by the way.
I thought they did a really good job CGIing out his nose. He in an interview, he just explained that, they just put some dots on my nose.
White dots, exactly.
Looks great.
But it was like he became the character when he wore the suit, and I think like that's what performance should be. It's the authenticity of being in the role and being in the moment. And I like the tone. I just like the sound the guns make, man. Especially.
They did good.
It's this like white vacuum sound of it's so cool, man. Like there's some really iconic moments.
There's a character that they didn't show in the show, but I'm sure he'll come up. It's a character nobody knows who he is. He's named the Mysterious Stranger. So in the game, there's a system where you pause the game and you aim at like body parts and shoot it. And sometimes when you do that, the Mysterious Stranger comes out of nowhere and just one-shots whatever you're fighting. And I just want like some like crazy fight to happen, and then like some big standout to happen, and then the Mysterious Stranger just comes out of nowhere and one-shots somebody. I just think that would be awesome.
Well,
it'd be really funny, and it'd be awesome.
There's a lot of wild cards left to explore in the show. So what did you feel didn't work apart from Vault-Tec? What else did you not like?
I didn't
and the Brotherhood.
Well, I don't like the Brotherhood in general. They're just dicks. That doesn't matter whether or not they're portrayed that way. It was 8 hours. It was a lot of TV. I think a lot of the beginning, like the first half, was paced pretty well. Once we get in the second half, it kind of feels like we're dragging our feet. We're just trying to get to that plot point. We're just trying to get to the MacGuffin. We're just trying to finish it all, get the storyline, get her to her dad. And I like some of that I didn't like, and I did really like the special effects. I did really like the set design. I did like the music. I liked all that.
Were there any Easter eggs you picked up that I would have not known about?
Well, stem packs. The sound that the stem packs make is straight out of the video game. The like it sounds like a pops being opened. That's straight out of the video game. There's some Pip-Boy sounds. The Pip-Boy is that computer that they put on their arms. There's sounds straight out of the video games there. It's a lot of
those were really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're mini computers that they put on their wrists. They're awesome. And in every
and that
game
whole section where they go into the other vault, which is kind of like a hybrid of, I don't know, like other species of humans.
Yeah. Yeah,
that was pretty funny. And then you see, like, I believe, was that Wayne Parnell or Alexander Parnell?
Couldn't tell you. Bad at names.
He's a very good actor. He plays a lot of funny roles. He's in Archer, and he's also in. I believe he's in 21 Jump
I know
Street.
you're talking. He's actually
Cyril,
the dad from Rick and Morty.
Yes, that's him. He's Jerry.
As soon as I heard that voice, I was like, "Oh, that's Jerry Smith. He has got one eye. This is awesome, and he looks great." I'm not.
Yeah.
I thought the actor had one eye for a second, and I was like,
"No.
Wait a minute. I've seen him on panels about Rick and Morty. There's no way this guy has one eye." But it was done so well, and he just chewed up the scenery. It was so good.
He definitely stole the scenes in those moments in the wall.
For sure. No, he was doing amazing.
Yeah, and yet again another twist where you think that there's a bit of conspiracy about them being evil, and then she gets caught, and the whole reveal, and then they punish her by like sending her back up, but with supplies.
Straight up in Vault fashion. Vault dwellers, they're so naive. We're only going to send you 16 weeks of rations. And then like all the bottles break and all that. That was awesome.
I read that there's actually like 100 volts or something like that.
Yeah, so...
that's insane.
There's over 100. I think it's... So 111 is when you play in Fallout 3. So I think they go higher than that. But that was the highest one I remember straight out of. And you're born in that vault in the game. Yeah, there's over 100 tests. That's how I like to think of it. Vault-Tec sold these vaults to unsuspecting citizens, and some of them got to be a part of the kind of like a portal test. Like let's see how these people survive.
But if you go back to the scenes where Cooper argues with his wife over, getting into the best vaults and the whole thing, the whole argument about the dog, and we'll get to the dog as a character, but like the dog's not being allowed in the vaults, and she's constantly arguing with him, being in the
dogs.
Yeah,
Goggins stabbing that dog. What the hell?
That was harsh, man. Yeah, I was like,
brutal.
At that point, I was like really questioning
whether or not I like this character.
Yeah,
he's a badass, but he killed a dog.
But then again, it comes back to the whole philosophy of you got to be ruthless to survive here, whether you like it or not. And then it's great to see that he revives.
He went back. He saved the dog. He stepped
not just once. He saved him twice.
Oh yeah.
When he's trapped in the little, I don't know, was that sort of a garbage can or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, he basically.
I would like to think that he did it out of the goodness of his heart, but I know it was because it was just to help him get what he wanted.
Oh yeah, but I think that's pretty clear when he gets a flashback of his own dog Roosevelt, and then he looks at the dog and he's like, "You ain't him, dog meat." And
dog meat is the name of the dog. That's another. That's the dog in Fallout 4. It's the same name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But circling back to my point about the wife arguing with him about getting into the best vaults, that makes me wonder that there's still an elite vault where the main bad guys are in.
It's and funny that's that you what say that.
I don't know. I feel like because her wife probably is still around, right? There's no way.
So there's a couple of control vaults, And in one of the control vaults, like I was saying earlier, forced evolutionary virus gets leaked out in the building. They all become mutants. And that's a lot of the government officials, a lot of the scientists that were there. I don't know if there's any vaults that still have untainted people. So there's even a vault that so they released enough of the radiation into the vault that they all became ghouls, and that's where there's a town called Necropolis that's all ghouls because of that.
Ooh, okay. So are you suggesting that there's a possibility where all the control vaults are like crazy mutants, and that's what's going to happen?
Yeah, that or they're all dead because 200 years.
They can't be dead. It's just too big.
I could definitely see them pulling out a big bad, sure, but without knowing everything I know about Fallout, I'm just gonna say they're dead, and it's just gonna be all the factions fighting for resources and land. Because war never changes.
True, that's something that's quite clearly.
They quoted it in the show.
True.
They say that every game.
True.
I rolled over when they said that. I was just like, roll credits. Should have been the last thing said in the show.
Yeah. What did you think of the ending?
I liked it. I really love New Vegas. I'm looking forward to it. All the plot, we were jerked around for sure. Plot twist here, plot twist there, plot twist everywhere. It almost felt like M. Night for a second, but then I remembered it was a little bit better made. And I definitely liked seeing the Fallout, New Vegas, just skyline. That was awesome. Didn't really care for her dad getting in the power
T60.
armor. Yeah, I thought that didn't need to happen, but it was convenient.
It was convenient. I thought the whole way he escaped and the way he just like convinced Maximus to free him was a bit convenient. And the fact that Lucy in that moment really doesn't do anything, I guess she's in a state of shock, processing what the truth behind her
that her
mother
dad's a clone and
her dad exactly
killed her mom.
And her life has basically been a big fat lie.
Right.
So it was convenient how he got away, but quite clearly there's still unfinished business, right? Because as a character, he's only introduced in the very first episode, and then just doesn't show up.
Screen time, yeah.
And not just screen time. There's also not a lot discussed in terms of who he
being in the
really
Fallout
is.
armor reminded me of the Wonder Woman movie where they like CGI'd that guy's face with the mustache. Like over like a CGI like monster.
Superman.
Like it kind of like his head
That's
looks
the Justice
normal.
League.
Yeah, it was a Justice League. See, it's hard to keep the DC movies like straight. They're just.
Are you talking about Henry Cavill having a CGI mustache?
No, not that. No. So in the first Wonder Woman, I think she fights Ares, and Ares is it's a CGI like mess, but his you see his goofy ass face just like appear because I'm sure the actor wanted to be shown or something and not wearing a helmet. And he's like, you just see his goofy ass mustache. That's what it kind of felt like. Like it looked a little goofy.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but I do feel I did think a lot about that last shot of Vegas, and it reminded me a lot about Blade Runner 2049.
Okay.
And especially that whole sequence in Vegas where Ryan Gosling's character goes in and he comes across Harrison Ford I believe they're in a casino or in some sort of a abandoned I don't know what it was. It's clearly a public area. But like the whole scene of him walking through Vegas in that orange hue was very reminiscent of those scenes in Blade Runner. Okay. And what you see at the end of Fallout. So that was exciting. I think obviously the game of I do need to play the game to get a better idea of what it's like. But
right,
I'm guessing
or you just watch like 50 lore videos and then you'll be there.
Yeah, the lore of this game. That's another thing. I mean, it's
done well.
So
it's expensive.
Yeah. It's very expensive, and I think the fact that they decided to go to the route of having original characters.
Right. But the funny thing is they're doing original characters, but they're also saying that it's canon. So the guy Todd Howard, one of the guys that works at Bethesda, I think he's like their not quite a CEO, but he's like their public relations like spokesman guy. He said that this show is canon. And so they worked with them to make it so it works within the timeline.
Okay.
So we'll see how that works. And then they told them straight up they can't do certain things because they want to do that in a future Fallout game.
Ooh.
So hopefully that doesn't like hurt them at all. I don't think it will because there's so much you could do in this show. And
I don't think it should hinder the creative liberties filmmakers will take.
Doing pretty good. Fallout 5 probably won't come out for like 10 years, so they're still working on the newest Elder Scrolls. We'll see how long that takes. I'm not going to hold my breath.
That's going to be interesting to see as well. We've seen how video games in the current age can take forever. Just look at GTA 6
or Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk. You think there'll be a Cyberpunk show
2070? That would be cool. I'd like that. Let's have Keanu Reeves in it. I'll watch it. It could be bad. I don't care. I love Cyberpunk.
Anything he's in is always great to see.
Yeah, he's not a good actor, but he does amazing action scenes. Like all the John Wicks, all the Matrixes.
He's incredibly committed. Yeah, he's incredibly committed.
Awesome.
And what he did with John Wick is insane.
Gun Kata. Yeah, no, I would watch any of those John Wick films. Just put them on and want to run the distance. I'd want to get on a treadmill and just pound it out.
Yeah. Do you know he's in Ballerina, which is a prequel coming out in a year, I think.
It's been
delayed.
Wick?
Yeah, so there's a prequel starring Ana de Armas as an assassin, and John Wick is in it briefly, where he's kind of mentoring her to become an assassin.
All right.
So
I'm not going to get excited. If it's cool, that's awesome.
We'll see. I think it's been delayed again, so
well, it could be like Hellraiser and get delayed for 10 years and then come out and be a completely different movie.
Yeah. Let's talk about recent video game adaptations. How does it compare to Arcane, The Last of Us, some of the other stuff that's come out? Would you want to rate it?
Arcane is awesome. I think Arcane does a good service. I think it rates pretty decently, pretty high. Usually when you make a video game adaptation of something, you either lose all the video game and you get something that's nothing like it. Like you get the Halo show, which I personally haven't watched, but that's just because I've heard so many bad things about it, and there's like gratuitous like sex scene. I don't want to see half a naked guy in a show. And then there's The Witcher. So that show, I think the first 2 seasons are amazing, and then the 3rd season not so much. And Henry Cavill leaving the show does not make it better.
It is unfortunate. The Witcher, I don't know what it is with Henry Cavill. I just feel like he's box office poison, unfortunately, because everything he does just.
Well, I think he did a great job
bombs.
with The Witcher. I think he.
You know what? He is actually a good he's actually a good actor, and
I know,
he was a big fan of The Witcher. He was a big fan.
He's a big nerd. He's a
big nerd.
He builds computers. He plays 40K.
He's a big fan of Warhammer, and that's what he's doing next.
That's 40K.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
That was just shortening the acronym. Yeah.
Okay.
So, they're, like I said, like Halo's arguably probably one of the worst ones ever made. And then you get like a movie or something like Mortal Kombat. Some of them are in the realm of so bad it's good. Thankfully, we don't have that with Fallout. The Last of Us, I would definitely, I would compare it like a little bit under The Last of Us. I think The Last of Us did a better job.
Narratively, I felt The Last
of
Us was much stronger. Writing was much stronger. But I just feel like The Last of Us, the world building in Fallout was a lot more interesting and enjoyable than The Last of Us, because The Last of Us is still rooted in a reality. Right. Well,
it's reality, the world of
Fallout.
In a sense, it's a bunch of people that got controlled by a parasite.
Yeah, by like fungi.
Fungi.
Yeah. Fungi. Not like the film Fungi.
Was
that the film?
No,
Free Guy. Oh, sorry.
Fun Guy. I'm sure someone's going to... Those R-rated flicks I don't know about?
I thought it was Free Guy. They all sound so similar. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a film called Fun Guy next in the next few years.
Oh, there probably already is. It's just not something you'd see in a regular theater. It'd be an adult theater.
I don't want to know.
I don't want to know either. Yeah.
Free Guy, yeah.
For adaptations go, no, I think it's up there. It's not the best adaptation, but it is very well done.
And it's quite bold to balance the tones. I felt like tonally.
Right.
I guess one of my gripes was it's all over the place at times because the horror, the comedy, the western, the retro-futurist vibe to it, but then it kind of does make sense in the end because there's so many other elements combined in that world. But I think
you don't see aliens in Fallout because they'll get goofy because that is in the canon.
I'm not sure how I feel about aliens.
The DLC for Fallout 3, it's all about aliens.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'd wipe at that personally.
No, it's they're very goofy. You get a special ammo and everything. It's very silly. There's the Big MT in Fallout New Vegas, where they're all brains in jars, and they're all voiced by very famous comedic animated actors. Like one of them's like Dr. Venture. The guy who does him is pretty funny.
Oh, all right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think what's your prediction of what they could do with New Vegas and where it's going to head?
So the thing about adapting a video game with multiple choices is you have to figure out what your canon ending is. The canon ending in New Vegas is probably Mr. House took control of the strip. So in the New Vegas, there's a bunch of different selections you can pick. Where nobody controls Vegas. There's a Elvis impersonator gang that you can somehow get them to control Vegas, which is really funny. They're called the Kings. And then there's the Boomers. They are a bunch of people that left their vault and decided to start a faction of their own. And there's all these factions that want the strip. So it's really what canon ending that they want to go with is how it's going to show. And I think the easiest is probably to just do Mr. House is controlling it all. And our characters will probably interact with the Securitrons. There will probably be robots all over the place with big TVs on them that look really goofy. But I'm sure that they'll have some comedic stuff in them. I think we'll probably see Good Springs. We'll probably see the Hoover Dam. We will probably see the gigantic dinosaur. It's called the Novak Inn. It's there's a storyline in the game where you meet a sniper that had his kid sold, or his wife or something, sold into slavery, and you can like follow their quest line. There's maybe we'll even get the followers of the apocalypse. That's probably only good, genuinely good faction in the game that only does good, other than the vaults. But the vaults are usually their own thing. They're all secluded. They usually come out. Maybe even the Brotherhood of Steel will show up, because there's a Brotherhood of Steel faction in the Mojave. We'll see what happens.
What do you predict in terms of the main characters? Do you see a major death?
I just want Maximus to die. I don't like him.
let's talk
Goggins,
about him briefly.
He's gonna be fine. He's gonna be fine. He might lose a limb. He'll be fine. They might kill off Lucy. It could be a thing. She's doing such a good job, though. I don't think they will, but they could.
I don't think so. I don't think they would.
And then they'll make the main character a rad roach. It'll be like a little roach, and just follow it for an entire episode. And somebody steps on it. That would be amazing.
Now we're getting into Rick and Morty territory.
Yeah. No, that is Rick and Morty territory. They should have Rick and Morty show up in the show. That'd be amazing. Make it a Fortnite.
I could see a cool crossover. Could you imagine Rick teaming up with the Ghoul?
Oh,
that would be pretty badass.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. He would go like, oh, and then Morty go, oh, jeez, I don't think you should be teaming up with a zombie. And then David Goggins go like, oh, I don't trust this guy. He's really old. And then Rick would like drink and like diarrhea all over the place and kill somebody or something.
I love his accent, man. Goggins nails down the
great.
Western really seamlessly.
He's here to kick ass and chew bubblegum. He's all about bubblegum.
Yeah, although I was repulsed by that cannibalism the scene involving cannibalism.
Oh yeah, with the jerky.
Yeah,
he's a ghoul. What do you want? He's a zombie. There's a trait in the games where you can become a cannibal.
Whoa!
You can just eat people.
That's,
there's a cannibal faction too in Vegas. They're called the White Glove Society. It's an entire mission where you have to escort somebody to be their meal.
Are they the same as those two characters where Maximus and Lucy attempt to cross the bridge, and then they come across those two?
No, those are fiends.
They're fiends.
When you eat people, it shows in your physical attributes. When you're not a ghoul and you eat people, like your teeth.
Yeah, that scene was eerie
that was intense.
As fuck.
Yeah, that was very intense.
And
that shows you can't trust anybody in the Wasteland. Shoot first, ask questions later.
True.
Generally in the games, that's what you do.
I thought there's that quick shot of Maximus getting shot and blood spewing, and I thought, wow, are they really going to kill him off at this point? But turns out it was just weird. It wasn't as serious, but that just goes again to show like how the Wasteland is just this hostile, unsettled, territory where people are devious and you just can't lower your guard.
Yep, you can't.
Because initially you're like
the dangerous thing you can do.
Yeah. Because initially you can look at it as, this is just a tale of Lucy and unfortunate events. But when you look into it, and when you look at the other characters, and you look at the ghoul and what the ghoul represents, I think it's quite clear that that's just the way society is now, and the only survival mechanism is to be ruthless and to never let your guard down. So I think the show does an incredible job to establish that. Mm-hmm. And all the appreciation really goes for all the minor characters that show up and have they may not necessarily have much of an impact or role, but they're well shown very cohesively with the Wasteland as a team and as a character, and I thought that worked very well.
Very believable in the universe, for sure.
True. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to point out?
Okay, all right. Are we ready for ratings?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I'll let you go first. What out of 10, and what is your reasoning?
I gotta be honest, when I started it, I wasn't quite sure, but by the end, I think I'm leaning more towards, it was somewhere between 8 to 9. But I think I'm gonna settle for an 8 out of 10. And the reason I say that is because I would easily give it a 9, because there's so many things about the show that I appreciate and love. But I feel like as a first season, as a show that is establishing its world, it does a great job in really exploring the Wasteland and exploring the character through these 3 main characters who are essentially getting us involved with the world in Fallout. But I feel like somewhere down the line, it does have its issues with pacing, and that's kind of expected when you have to deal with multiple lead character storylines.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure
that back in time too.
Exactly, you go back in time, and I think like you have a case where out of the 3 characters, you've got someone like the Ghoul, who's probably so nuanced, so layered, and so well fleshed out, and you see the tragedy behind this character, and you see the rootlessness of this character. And then you got someone like Maximus, who you just see that he's the only thing you really get out of him is he's just a kid who was in
he was a Shady Sands survivor.
Exactly. And apart from that, there's nothing much to him. They haven't really explored more other than him being
enough.
I'm not saying he hasn't suffered enough. I just feel like he's shown in a very vulnerable light emotionally,
right.
But we're not quite sure of what to make of his character. And then you've got Lucy, who I feel is the audience's character, because that is who we really play as when we start the series. It's right through her perspective, right up until the end. And of course, the Ghoul is another character that I think does really, what's the word? Mirror her in a way, but in a very...
All right, like an opposite. Sure.
Like an opposite, exactly. But, I come back to my reference of the good and the bad and the ugly. I think they're the three players within the game that are part of the scheme that's taking place. But I feel like the real fun is going to be what they do next, because they've done a great job in establishing the mystery, the conflict. I feel a lot of the show goes along in just chasing the MacGuffin, which I'm not sure is always I know it's a great storytelling device, and a lot of narratives use it, but sometimes it can feel like it drags a bit. I guess that's one of my few.
I can definitely agree.
Yeah, that's probably one of my few criticisms with the plot and the pacing. But I love the characterizations. I loved the production design. I thought the practical effects were cool. I loved how the T-60 armors were practical, and the violence and the humor is a handful and can catch you off guard and may not necessarily be of everyone's taste. But within this place, within this storyline and the lore of Fallout, I think it works really well. And there's so much that they've packed in within 8 episodes that sometimes you just need to let it breathe. But it's interesting. I feel like they've left it at a place where we go into the new season, and that's going to be the point where you really want to know, you're really going to be engaged, and you would want to know what will happen, because now we have, the answers to the context behind what we need to know, right? The wife, the clone father, what happened with the mother, the whole thing with, the fusion core, the cold fusion.
Cold fusion, yeah.
So
yeah, we
I feel
had
like
a lot of ends for sure.
Yeah, so I feel like they've really gathered the pieces, but it's not quite there yet for them to really reach the climax of the story. I feel like that's going to happen in season 2. But as an introductory piece, getting us involved in the world of Fallout, getting us involved with these characters, specifically the Ghoul and Lucy, I think that was probably some of the strongest elements of the script that I really enjoyed. And the whole blend of Western violence and retro-futurist ideals of the world make it a very fascinating world to explore. And yeah, I guess it leaves questions open for what they'll do with New Vegas, and I think I'm really excited to see what they can do. But if it doesn't feel like the story ends in a place where, if they didn't have a season 2, would I be okay with it? No, I would not be okay with it, because it's quite clearly, not a satisfactory ending by any means. And I think that's something a lot of filmmakers in TV pay deep attention to, because not everyone gets the chance to finish this story. I'm assuming maybe they had the benefit of being renewed, which is why they left it at a good place where the answers can be open. But I felt like it could have ended a bit more strongly,
Right.
bit more of
on a high note. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like it lacks out on that end. It just slightly fizzles out on that end,
Right.
beyond the pacing of it. But apart from that, I love what they've accomplished with this series, the performances, the craft. So I'm excited for season 2.
All right. So I am hemming and hawing about my rating. I'm all over the place. I'm just going to settle on something. I feel like after you told me that, you kind of convinced me to lean a little bit differently. Yeah, I'm going to give it a straight up 9 out of 10. I was going to go a lot lower, but I think the biggest gripe was I'm just still hung up about Vault-Tec shooting off the first bomb. That really annoys me. If I wouldn't give it a 10 if that wasn't the case, but because we have the pacing, we have all these things that could be done better. There's so many things in the show that it does good that I feel pretty comfortable just giving it a 9 out of 10. If it was maybe 4 episodes, I probably wouldn't have.
I can't imagine 4 episodes being enough.
that would be a lot to pack in there. That's why I'm happy that it got time to breathe. There are some characters I don't really care about Maximus. There are some characters I want to see more of. I want to see more of the Ghoul. I want to see more of Lucy. It'd be really cool if she just killed off her dad like in the first episode. That'd be awesome. But I know that's not how it's going to go, because it's not how most stories go. There is a lot of cool things that are coming, I'm sure. A lot of things to be excited for. I'm pretty sure this, if I were a betting man, season 2 is going to do a lot better financially than season 1, just because of where it left off. What they would do after that, who the hell knows? Maybe they will conclude the storyline and do somewhere else in the world. Maybe even the UK. Maybe it could be anywhere. All the Fallout games have been in the United States, so who knows what they'll do. I love the music. It makes me want to play more Fallout. I love Fallout. Very biased.
That's totally acceptable opinion, and coming from someone who has played the game, you obviously can relate to that experience and how that made you feel watching it. As someone who didn't play the games, I'm sure that's that probably affected a bit of my.
It could.
It could have affected it, but I feel like it's a show that perhaps if I revisit again, could probably help me interpret it in a different way. And obviously, playing the game would be a factor, because once you're introduced in this world and then you play it, it just gets you much more involved.
Yeah, if you get really into it, it's going to be several hundred hours.
Yeah,
you can beat the game in 20 hours, but there's so many things to explore. There's these tapes that have people's recordings, and they'll tell you about what was happening before the bombs fell. It'll be like there's a whole society that existed before the society that currently exists. It's awesome.
There's so much to explore, and it's such a big swing. And that I tip my hat to the creators of the show, because it is a big swing. And I think when you look into the history of video game adaptations, and the track record of so many failing, this really does rank amongst The Last of Us and Arcane as one of the top tier,
right? It's definitely
adaptations ever to exist. And I think, like, who knows? Like you said, there's just so much now that they've introduced us in this world. You just don't know, and that leaves you feeling excited, because imagine how many other characters they could get, like the Ghoul.
Yep, but how many actors and actresses that are well known could just do a cameo for one episode and have an awesome time?
You could have an episode entirely through just one new character's perspective, and that would be cool. So I'm really happy with the show. I would definitely rate. Like I said, I was between a 9 and an 8, but I settled on an 8 because I want to temper my expectations.
I was between a 7 and a 9. I was all over the place.
When I watched the first 3 episodes, I was around leaning towards like maybe a 7.
Yeah.
But then I think like by the end of the 3rd episode, I was convinced this was really good.
Right, it was a good decision.
It was all a matter of like familiarizing yourself with the world, because it's all over the place. But once you lock in, you're locked in.
Right. You're gonna lose a lot of sleep watching the show. It's great.
Yeah, you could.
No, I had to shut it off a couple times. It was like, this is really good. I want to see how I had to work like that Monday, and I was a dum-dum, and I put the last episode on like Sunday, an hour after I should have went to bed, and then I went to work tired. It was so worth it.
It is. I watched it across a week, so I definitely had the time to digest it a lot better, rather than binging it across
2 days.
That's a lot to take in.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of pee breaks.
Yeah. Well, I guess that leaves us in a good place to conclude.
All right. So next time we're gonna cover something completely different. We've been doing a lot of longer form content. So I would like to have us go really back in time to a time when I was a teenager. Let's go watch the original Saw 2004 by James Wan. If you haven't seen the original Saw, I recommend that you watch it. Otherwise, you're going to get really spoiled.
Look forward to it.
Yeah,
Looking forward to it.
Watched this movie over 20 times. It's my favorite. I know it's not the best, but it's great.
It was a cult classic. Let's just put it that way.
Awesome.
Paved the way for a lot of horror films. So look forward to it.
Cheers. I'll talk to you next time.